You know, we might be kidding ourselves if we didn't think Cinco de Mayo has a slightly different flavor this year. Granted, it does fall on a Monday, but is it because of the day or is it because of the year we've been in so far? Both Chicago and Philadelphia canceled their parades today, while Detroit's, they held theirs, but it was a bit more subdued. Regardless, while the 5th of May isn't about Mexican independence, it is a day of significance in Mexico, just not as significant as it is north of the border. And the change in tone for Cinco de Mayo, well, that isn't just for this year either. In recent years, it's become more of a hallmark holiday created to sell stuff. As we learned in today's 208 Redial, think fewer well wishes and more well drinks. If this is the first thing you think of when it comes to Cinco de Mayo, well, you're not alone.
Drunk people, people drinking beer in the bars. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Even university professors can't avoid it.
I think it's become very commercialized.
Dr. Dora Ramirez teaches Chicano studies at BSU, and she says the 5th of May is just kind of a carryover from outside the Hispanic community.
Yeah, I mean, sort of. I mean, it's not a holiday that we celebrate. It's a holiday where we're just like, hey, let's go have fun, but it's nothing that we do in our homes. It's usually a community event. It's kind of like St. Patrick's Day, where you have to go back and do the research and really think about what does this holiday mean and what does it represent to the Mexican community.
What is the biggest misconception about Cinco de Mayo?
That it's our Independence Day, which it's not.
Nope. It is a commemoration of the Battle of Puebla, however, a May 5th, 1862 victory for a ragtag, outnumbered Mexican army over a much more powerful French military who hadn't lost a battle in 50 years. Even though it was a short-lived victory in Mexico's fight to remain independent, Mexican President Benito Juarez made it a national holiday in 1867. But even that didn't last long.
Puebla, Mexico, or Mexico does celebrate it. So does Mexico City, but not many other places in Mexico celebrate it. So it's very much a U.S. holiday.
Dr. Ramirez says Cinco de Mayo's stateside significance started with FDR's good neighbor policy in the 1930s. It got a bit more attention in the 60s during the farm worker civil rights movement, and then it slid back in the background for another couple of decades.
And it wasn't until the 80s that the beer industry decided, hey, this is a good holiday to make some money.
It was, and is, sometimes outpacing St. Patrick's Day and the Super Bowl when it comes to beer sales. I can only imagine this has to be a little bit conflicting for somebody of Hispanic heritage to say, okay, you're looking at Cinco de Mayo and it's very superficial when it comes to our culture. But at the same time, it does help draw attention to that culture, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing with Cinco de Mayo, it was also used in the 40s, after World War II to really integrate American, values and say, hey, we are all American. And that's part of Cinco de Mayo that I think is missing. In our conversations about what it means, it's like bringing people together, not separating them or segregating them.
Well, the first thing you said when I asked you, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Cinco de Mayo, you mentioned drinking. What would you rather people think of when it comes to Cinco de Mayo?
How we can get along, and that sounds so Pollyanna, but how two cultures on one land can come together and really think about, like, how do we connect?
Two cultures in one land. The most recent report from the Idaho Commission of Hispanic Affairs showed the Gem State's Hispanic population grew by 36% over the last 10 years, and they're getting younger. They account for just 13% of the entire Gem State population, but make up 78% of the jobs growth in the state going back to 2009. And so as you're crunching your hard-shelled taco tonight or hoisting your imported beverage, remember, the holiday has a history forged in civil rights and celebrating social justice. Dr. Ramirez told us Cinco de Mayo's beginnings in America was a show of patriotism, but also this idea of instilling values of integration into a holiday. We also got an email from another Boise State professor today, Dr. Chandra Reyna, who is also the director of this scholarship program for first-generation, low-income, and underrepresented undergrad students. And she says, well, she's getting ready for graduation. She didn't have time to speak with us on camera today, but she did say, given our current political climate, the fear and distrust of our neighbors, both domestically and internationally, is discouraging. Quote, as a country that once took pride in providing opportunities to people from around the world and leaned into the idea of a melting pot, right now would be a good time to revisit and remind ourselves of our core, or at least ideal, values.